Clean girl is out, mob wife is in. Here's what this means.
Your goal is to be a coastal cowgirl this summer?
What do you need to do if you want to become the ultimate?
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about TikTok trends and aesthetics. Is it just me, or does it feel like every 3 to 5 business days there's a new aesthetic that everyone is obsessed with? But who's actually pushing these trends? Where are they coming from? And what are you actually saying when you emulate these type of aesthetics or archetypes? And what type of energy are you channeling? Let's get into it. First off, what is an aesthetic? What does it really mean? Because I feel like people use that word so much on TikTok. According to Webster's, aesthetic means in relation to or dealing with beauty. In the plural, it's defined as a form of philosophy dealing with the nature of beauty and the appreciation and creation of it. I feel like the way people use the word aesthetic on TikTok more has to do with the likeness of something versus the beauty of it. When I see people making their mood boards, obviously there is some beauty in them, but it feels like people are more talking about the likeness or the overall vibe that a person is trying to emulate. And you will see this with people describing aesthetics that aren't even necessarily beautiful. I saw someone post a video about the Christmas dad aesthetic, which is just the archetypal dad on Christmas morning, which there's nothing really inherently beautiful about it, but it's a type of vibe, it's a type of person. Describing a type of person or the likeness of a certain character that we all understand has more to do with an archetype versus an aesthetic. Now, this trend of talking about aesthetics, I believe started on Tumblr and Pinterest, but I became more and more aware of this word usage during like 2020 on TikTok. Remember 2020? What a time to be alive. Now, while many of these aesthetics have had their day in the sun, one of the most popular aesthetics that is still trending to this day is the clean girl aesthetic. The clean girl aesthetic in general is the archetype of a woman who takes good care of herself and looks clean. According to my TikTok research, the clean girl aesthetic consists of glowy or natural makeup, slick back buns, matching sets, bonus points if they're in neutral colors. Along with the clean girl aesthetic look, there is also a lifestyle associated with it, which consists of self-care, working out, and specifically going on walks and doing Pilates. Oh, and tiny gold hoops and like dainty jewelry. Now, there have been a plethora of insert noun aesthetics that have went trending on TikTok: clean girl, vanilla girl, strawberry girl, old money, quiet luxury, coastal grandmother, eclectic grandpa. And now, even currently, we have the mob wife aesthetic. And in the past, whenever I saw these aesthetics going trending, I never really bat an eye at it because I understood that it's a way for young people to try out different trends. People are trying to figure out what their personal style is, and it can be fun to try to dress up like a character and emulate somebody as a way to figure out what you like to wear. I totally get that. But the mob wife aesthetic specifically really caught my attention. And it may be because I am a self-proclaimed Sopranos head. I've seen every single episode, every season, and one of my favorite movies of all time is Goodfellas. But I find this specific aesthetic taking off to be so fascinating because this is the first time I've ever seen a TikTok trend take off in such a mainstream way and be so widely accepted so quickly that glamorizes the look of women who are associated with a life of crime. According to TikTok, if you want to go for that mob wife aesthetic, you're gonna need long nails, bonus points if they're red, big hair, loud makeup, a fur coat, oh, and of course tons of jewelry. This is quite literally the opposite of quiet luxury. Pop culture references that keep getting brought up are the cast of Mob Wives, specifically Big Ange, R.I.P., Sharon Stone's character in Casino, and of course Carmela Soprano. Let's talk about Carmela Soprano for a second. The character of Carmela Soprano is probably one of the most well-known and recognizable depictions of a mob wife in recent media, and I just find it so interesting. As someone who's seen every single episode of The Sopranos, Carmela Soprano was never someone that was seen as aspirational. She was constantly being cheated on. She was constantly in fear of her husband going to jail. She was always so afraid of when she was going to lose everything. And to cope with her life, she became a perfectionist and she tried to control as many things around her that she felt like she could, like micromanaging her kids, working out, decorating her home, being super religious. Carmela was obsessed with the appearance of being the perfect family and the perfect housewife when that could be farther from the truth. And in the beginning of the series, you do feel bad for her because you feel like she's this woman who is constantly being wronged. And as the series continues, you start to not feel as sorry for her because you realize that she really takes a hand in Tony's life of crime. She understands that he is doing illegal stuff. He's killing people, he's ruining people's lives, but he's paying the bills, and she gets nice gifts, nice jewelry, and she gets to be taken care of, so she kind of just looks the other way. But overall, Carmela Soprano was a tragic character. Style-wise, I did enjoy Carmela's outfits. I thought they were very appropriate for the time period. It was definitely giving rich housewife from New Jersey or Staten Island. But because her life was filled with so much turmoil, it always took me out of the fantasy of wanting to look like her. And something that I cannot ignore is that with all of these aesthetics that go trending, there is always a lifestyle attached to it. When people post about these different aesthetics, they don't just talk about clothing and makeup and hair. They post home decor, they post books, they post cars, they post different physical activities, they post even dogs in different cities. Because these aren't just aesthetics, they are archetypes, and they are inspired by people who do exist in real life. And I don't see people just posting about mob wife clothing. I see them talking about the attitude and how to carry yourself. And I just find it so crazy because I'm like, have any of you guys seen The Sopranos or any kind of documentary about the mafia? These women do not live the kind of lives that you think they do, and they don't have the type of power that you associate with the men that they're married to, and a lot of them are abused. And I just feel like, at least with the clean girl aesthetic, it's a life that I could aspire to have. Like, I would love to be the girl who wakes up at 6 a.m. every day doing Pilates and drinking green juice and having cute matching Lululemon sets. And even with the coastal grandmother aesthetic, like when I think about that aesthetic, there's a lifestyle attached to it that is really aspirational. I think of like Martha Stewart or living in like a Nancy Meyers movie. And just like Carmela Soprano, every other media depiction of a mob wife that I have ever seen, and I've watched a lot of movies and documentaries on the mafia, it is a very sad life. It is a life that is surrounded by death, by jail, and families get completely eviscerated by this lifestyle, and the women are left to kind of pick up the pieces of everything. Now, looks wise, I do think the mob wife aesthetic is pretty accurate from what I've seen in media, documentaries. If I were to think of a mob wife, it would be that: big hair, red nails, big smoky eyes, jet black hair. But this style is not exclusive to just women who are associated with crime families. Many women, specifically Italian women and Albanian women in the tri-state area, dress exactly like this, and they have no affiliations with the mafia. Also, Black women, especially in the 80s and 90s, definitely used to dress like this. I've seen a lot of aunties wearing leopard coats, red nails, super jet black eyeshadow, long black hair. That's nothing new, especially if you grew up in like the Chicago or Detroit area. Like, this style was really popular, and it probably still is today. And I'm not going to argue about who did it first, but I do find it really troubling to associate everyone who looks like that or dresses like that with people who are associated with crime and violence. And now what you have are these young suburban girls who know nothing about that lifestyle, calling themselves mob wives, trying to look like mob wives, trying to emulate mob wives, and it's just, y'all. Now, I am very fascinated by fashion psychology and how we communicate through our clothing. And whether you like it or not, when you get dressed for the day, you are saying something about yourself, how you wear your hair, what colors you choose to put on. They are communicating something to other people, and they can also unconsciously influence your behavior as well. And I absolutely believe you can attract certain things to your life based off of how you dress. There's a reason why they say dress for the job you want, not the one you have. There is a concept called enclothed cognition, which describes the psychological effect that clothes have on our cognitive process and our behavior. A study was done where they tested multiple sets of students. They told one set that they were wearing a lab coat, and they told another set that they were wearing a painter's coat. And every time that they did this test, the students that were told that they were wearing a lab coat scored higher. when people wear suits, for example, they feel more powerful, they feel more confident, they have better posture, and they will speak more assertively just by wearing a certain piece of clothing. I find that so interesting because when you put on certain clothing, there is this subconscious communication going on between you and the garment, and you can start to act in a certain way that is congruent to how you're dressing. And if you think about it, even if you're watching a play, part of the reason why you put on a costume, number one, is so the audience can identify what character you are, but it's also so that the actor can start to channel the personality of the character that they're playing. The costume is very important to help get someone in character. So what are you saying about yourself subconsciously? What type of energy are you channeling when you put on clothes and you call them mob wife clothes or the mob wife aesthetic? You're saying you're dressing like a mob wife. What are you communicating subconsciously to yourself? And I know a lot of people don't take these things super seriously. They just think of them as silly trends and they're not really thinking about like the lifestyle attached to the word. And I'm not saying if you dress up like a mob wife, you're going to inevitably fall into a life of crime. But I'm not ignorant to the fact that especially with young people, the pop cultural references that you choose to emulate for style or even personality inspiration do have an effect on your subconscious and can ultimately affect your behavior.
I have brought this up in a previous video, and that is that we exist in our subconscious mind 90% of the day, and the subconscious does not understand reality from fantasy. That is why when people watch sports, their heart rate goes up, they feel like they're a part of the team, because your mind cannot tell the difference. And this is another reason why I stopped telling self-deprecating jokes as well, because I realized my mind doesn't know that I'm joking. The subconscious doesn't have a sense of humor. It takes everything as is.
The older I get, I am just way more discerning about the titles that I give myself, what I call myself, what I decide to emulate or be inspired by. Because whether you like it or not, our minds are very easily influenced. And unfortunately, we know on TikTok, it is a lot of younger people. It's people who are still in high school. Some of them are in middle school. I know elementary kids who use TikTok. So you have to also think about it in their shoes. And this is nothing new. Teenagers have been influenced by pop culture and media since the beginning, right? I may be a grown woman, something like that would not possibly influence me, but a 16-year-old girl who doesn't know who she is and is trying to find herself, that type of aesthetic and what it's being called could possibly send them down a whole wormhole.
Don't try to tell me I'm over-exaggerating, because I know a lot of us used to watch Bad Girls Club and then want to go fight somebody, and then some of y'all were actually out here dating 40-year-olds because you were listening to too much Lana Del Rey.
Now, the question I have, and many others do too, is who is actually starting these trends? First, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me with the algorithm. Hit that notification button and you'll get updates when I post a new video. Is everyone actually obsessed with the mob wife aesthetic? Like, if you go outside, not on your phone, just go out into the world, are you seeing people actually dressing up like mob wives and like you don't live in New Jersey or Staten Island? I even saw the Bratz Instagram page post a Bratz doll dressed like Carmela Soprano, and that's when I was like, okay, what's going on? What's really happening? And it's not far-fetched to think that marketing companies are pushing out trends and making them try to look like they're organically growing when they're really not, because they make a lot of money off of these trends. And in reality, most of them do feel very contrived and premeditated, and it just kind of grosses me out. And if you think about it, we know that the fashion industry pushes out different trends because it makes money. If people decide to wear the same things year after year, people will not be shopping as much. People will not be buying and consuming as much things, which means less money for them. And it's okay to want to participate in trends every now and then, but when you don't understand your personal style, it does keep you in this loop of just constantly buying things because you're trying to figure out who you are. Now, I don't judge anyone for wanting to participate in the mob wife aesthetic. I get it, but I just want people to be mindful of what are they calling themselves? What are the trends that they're attracted to? Why are they attracted to them? Do they really even like this stuff? Or is it just like they feel like it's just in their face constantly and they have FOMO, so they start to participate? Like, I think we should all in 2024 just start to really ask ourselves, like, why do I like certain clothing? Why do I want to participate in this trend? Why do I I want this thing that's super popular? Do I want it because I like it, or do I want it because everyone else has it? That's all I have for today. If you're not already, make sure to follow me on Instagram and Pinterest. I have lots of outfit inspo. I talk more about archetypes, body types, all that fun stuff. Follow me over there and comment down below what you have found useful to help you find your personal style. I would love to know. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye.